this video about it, and I want to talk about that serious video. First, the funny video.
Two clips that give off the same energy.
If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail time because we're going to run you down and put you in jail.
You are stealing, right to jail. You're playing music too loud, right to jail. Right away. You're driving too fast, jail. Slow, jail. You're charging too high prices for sweaters, glasses. You right to jail.
Okay, so that's comical. What two clips give off the same energy when it comes to this Florida sheriff? Now to get serious about this sheriff. This sheriff has a hard on for protesters, clearly. This sheriff is probably going to take things right to the limit, if not just over the limit, if he could possibly get away with it, clearly. However, we have to be clear on what he said. And I'm being sent a video. I've been sent I'm going to show you a video here now of a gentleman who says what he believes this sheriff said. But the gentleman's actually incorrect. Then we're going to talk about what the sheriff actually said. Without agreeing with what the sheriff is doing, we still have to get the wording right. We have to say what he actually said. So watch this really quick.
A Florida sheriff warned that if there are protests in his county on Saturday, they have the right to kill you and notify your family of where to collect your remains. He also said that they will send their dogs to bite you.
Now, before we go on to what the sheriff actually said, I have to jump in and say wrong. That is not what the sheriff said. The sheriff did not say, if you protest in my county, we have the right to kill you. That is not what he said. This sheriff is an asshole. This sheriff is pushing things to the extreme. This sheriff looks like he is itching to start some shit with some protesters, but that is not what he said. He talked about the various ways of people protesting that could wind them up in jail, doing things that they're not supposed to / allowed to do. But the part of the press conference where he said, we will unalive you and notify your next of kin on where to collect the body, was not because you're in my county protesting. It's if you are trying to attack the police. We've gotta get it right, folks.
On an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail time because we're going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains in.
Did you hear that? If you throw a brick, firebomb, or point a gun at a cop, then we're going to notify your family of where to collect your remains. Once again, this sheriff is a piece of shit. He's an asshole. He is itching to start some shit with some protesters. But he did not say, if you protest in my county, we're gonna kill you. We have the right to kill you and notify your family. if you attack the police, you're gonna probably get killed. He laid out a whole bunch of ways you could end up in jail. And it wasn't until he got to the point where if you attack us, if you point a gun at us, you throw a firebomb at us, yeah, we're gonna retaliate. Now, once again, is this guy the guy we want to be on the side of? No. Is this guy looking to start some shit? Yes. But if we're gonna talk about what he's doing, if we're gonna talk about what he's saying, what he's threatening, then we have to get it right. He did not say, if you protest in my county, you're gonna die. That is untrue. This one is for the Jill Stein voters. It's for the Bernie or bust voters. It's for the we can't possibly vote for that candidate because they didn't give us 100% of what we wanted voters. You motherfuckers, pay attention.
Say a lot, but I'll say it again. It frustrates me so much that people expect political candidates to be like a spouse. No, you are not looking for the one. They are public transportation. Their job is to get from point A to point B. They are a city bus. And there has never been a time where I've boarded a city bus and been like, I like everything about this. No, it sucks, but it's better than walking in the rain, and those are our options. And there are so many people who think that because a candidate doesn't reflect 100% of their ideology, they are somehow evil. And look, before the 2020 election, during the primaries, what did we have? We had like 23 candidates in the primaries. I ranked Biden as like my 17th Yeah, but once he came out of that primary, I would have crawled over class to vote for him. Yeah. Because I understand results, and we need to be results oriented. It is not about process, it is about results. That is such a perfect description of it. And the other part of it is how little people know about how anything works. People want like a quick and dirty answer. I think that goes with the politicians too. They want everything perfect and easy, and it's not. It's very complicated.
Yes. Bingo. Results. I don't fucking care what your ideology is. I don't fucking care. We need results. Results that stop fascism from taking hold. He said he had Joe Biden ranked like 17th out of 23. We're not sure the exact numbers, but you understand what he's saying. If there were like 23 people and he had them ranked like 17. Joe Biden is not who I wanted to be president. I had Joe Biden won going into that primary because I thought he gave us the best chance to defeat Donald Trump. Not because he was going to give me everything I wanted, not because he was going to give the people in my life everything they wanted, not because he was going to be the best president and get the most done, but because I knew that we could not allow Donald Trump to win again because it would be as bad as we see it right now. Marines on the streets of Los Angeles, actively detaining a citizen. The president overriding governors and sending in that state's National Guard. People being rounded up on the street and shipped off to foreign countries they're not even from without due process. We knew it would be this fucking bad. We told you it would be this fucking bad, but you had to stand on moral high ground. You had to stand on your fucking soapbox. You had to vote the way you thought you needed to vote, even if it meant the erosion of this country. Even if it meant people being rounded up on the streets and shipped off to gulags in other nations without due process. That was the trade-off you were willing to make for your morality. In order to do the right thing, you were willing to burn it all down. He's absolutely correct. We understand results. You fucking people that couldn't bring yourself to vote for Kamala Harris, couldn't bring yourself to vote for Hillary Clinton. You don't give a shit about anything but yourself. You need to be right. You need to be morally superior, no matter who it fucks. Kind of an odd comment. I was asking where the no new wars crowd was. The folks who support Donald Trump, who during the election season, kept telling us how he was the world peace president, how there were no new conflicts anywhere on the planet when Donald Trump was president. And I was asking this question from the context of him himself threatening military action against several of our allies since being in office. And now the new development of Israel bombing Iran and Iran returning fire to Israel and the United States stepping in and helping Israel in this endeavor. And I couldn't help but notice, just like so many other people, you completely avoid the subject at hand, which is the notion that you guys shoved down our fucking throats throughout the election cycle that Donald Trump was the world peace president, that there would be no new wars under a Donald Trump presidency, because that's who Trump is. No, you didn't touch on that. That was too tough of a subject for you to chew on, was it? No, you had to come out with this. Get over yourself. Iran cannot have nuclear weapon. Very simple. I agree. I don't think Iran should be able to have a nuclear weapon. Hence the reason I was in favor of the Iran nuclear deal that was put in place under the Obama administration. The Iran nuclear deal that Iran was adhering to and we had inspectors inside of Iran making sure that they couldn't regain nuclear capabilities or couldn't gain nuclear capabilities. We had a thing in place to prevent that. Your boy tore it up. Your boy did away with that nuclear deal. Therefore, the inspectors were no longer they are with their nuclear capabilities now. If you believe what you believe, then you should have been bitching from the mountaintops the minute Der Muskführer ripped up the Iran nuclear deal. We had that shit put in place. We had a lid on it until Donnie Dumbfuck got elected the first time around. And this isn't about whether or not Iran can or cannot have nuclear weapons. This is about, once again, ignorant fucksticks like yourself telling us for months that Donald Trump is the world peace president, and shit like this isn't going to happen if he's elected president. Then he's elected president and shit like this happens. You know, the part of the conversation you're ducking because you're not fucking man enough to deal with the conversation at hand. You want to talk about whether or not Iran can have a nuclear weapon. We're on the same fucking page, asshole. Now, deal with the subject at hand. What about you fucking idiots telling us that this shit was never gonna happen if he was elected? Is a never-ending parade of unprecedented news when Trump is president. It was during his first 4 years, and it is again now that he is in office again. We keep entering into uncharted and unprecedented territory, and not for the better, not for the good. Where are we now? Here's where we are. Marines carry out first known detention of civilian in Los Angeles. Marines deployed to Los Angeles temporarily detained a civilian on Friday, the U.S. military confirmed after being presented with Reuters images. In the first known detention by active duty troops deployed there by President Donald Trump. The incident took place at the Wilshire Federal Building in Los Angeles, where Marines took charge of the mission to protect the building earlier on Friday, in a rare domestic use of U.S. troops after days of protests over immigration raids. Reuters images showed Marines apprehending the man, restraining his hands with zip ties, and then handing them over to civilians from the Department of Homeland Security. Asked about the incident, the military's Northern Command spokesperson said active duty forces, quote, may temporarily detain an individual in specific circumstances. Any temporary detention ends immediately when the individual or individuals can be safely transferred to the custody of appropriate civilian law enforcement personnel, a spokesperson said. Speaking to the reporters after he was released, the civilian identified himself as Marcos Leal, 27. Leal said he was an Army veteran on his way to an office of the Department of Veterans Affairs when he crossed a yellow tape boundary and was asked to stop. Leal, who gained his U.S. citizenship through military service, said he was treated very fairly. They're just doing their job, said Leal, who was of Angolan and Portuguese descent. The 200 Marines are more than 2,000 National Guard now deployed to Los Angeles are tasked with protecting federal property and federal personnel. They will be joined by an additional 500 Marines and 2,000 more National Guard soldiers. The Posse Comitatus Act generally forbids the U.S. military, including the National Guard, from taking part in civilian law enforcement. Trump could take a more far-reaching step by invoking the Insurrection Act, which would allow troops to directly participate in civilian law enforcement. That's where we are in 2025. The active duty U.S. military is in the streets of the second largest city in the United States of America, and they have now officially detained a civilian, albeit temporary. This is a dangerous path. This is not the path we want to go on. This is the path that leads to North Korea, Russia, Iran, places like that. That's where we are. That's Trump's America. What happens in fascist nations, fascist states? Opposing voices are silenced and sometimes imprisoned. I don't know if you've paid attention to the news recently, but Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was giving a press conference, and one of the ranking Democratic senators from California went there to ask questions and was physically removed and detained for trying a sitting senator ranking Democratic Senate for trying to ask the Department of Homeland Security Secretary a question during her press conference.
Senators, I have questions for the secretary because the fact of the matter is I have a dozen fine criminals that you're sitting on your head off. And they'll sit, sir, sir, hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex again. I have a question for the secretary because the fact of the matter is I have a dozen violent criminals that you're sitting on your head. Ground is on your back. Is on your back. It's flat. It's flat. Alright. What I'm saying is that's my boss after the I'm not around those.
That's where we're at in 2025. That's how fascist America has become and that quickly. Not only are we rounding people up at the streets and shipping them off to countries that they've never even been to without any due process. Not only are we attempting to control cities with the United States military, a ranking Democratic senator cannot ask a question of the Department of Homeland Security Secretary at an open press conference without being tackled by Trump's Gestapo and handcuffed to the ground. And then, of course, you got the gentleman at the end. There's no recording here because, of course, in the interest of the most transparent administration in American history, as they claim to be, we can't possibly have you seen what we're doing to our political opponents. We're in the 100-year cycle. Fascism is back. Fascism was rearing its head on the planet 100 years ago, and 100 years before that, and now it's doing it again, only this time it's doing it here in the United States of America. MAGA is the modern day American Nazi. Trumpism is the modern day American Nazism. Just silence your political opponents, arrest them, drag them out, put them on the ground, handcuff them, and take them away. This is just the beginning. What happens in fast.